Alright, what's going on YouTube? Heylow here, bringing you an all-new Total War Warhammer 2 1v1 matchup. So today we are going to be playing the Greenskins in a ladder match against Bretonnia. So let's dive into the compositions. Alright, so for myself playing the Greenskins, we are going to have Grimgor Ironhide. He is going to be our lord for today, and he is going to be supported by two Night Goblin Shamans who are going to be rocking their Vindictive Glares as well as Sneaky Stabbin'. And then our front line is going to consist of 4 units of Orc Biggins, supported by a back line of 3 Savage Orc Biggins. So the big bulk of this army is all going to have anti-large. None of it has charge defense, but we've got some armorous and physical resist. These guys will be able to mulch through any like chaffy Bretonnian infantry, but they're also going to help in any kind of engagements where they end up against Bretonnian cav. So it's a lot of anti-large all across the board here. And up next, up in the very front, we have the Warlord's boys, who are going to be some armor-sundering Night Goblins. And then out on each flank, we're going to have 2 units with the Nasty Skulkers. Over here on the right side, Death Creepers, the Regiment around Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archers, and then also Mogreb's Mangy Marauders for some armor-piercing missiles, and the Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archers over here. So, for our opponents, the Bretonnians, we're going to have a pretty mixed batch build. Front line is going to have some men-at-arms with shields, some spears, and then we're also going to have foot squires strewn in there. We're also going to have the men-at-arms with polearms in the back, and a peasant bowman with pox arrows. The lord for today is going to be King Louen Leoncoeur, and we're also going to have a damsel with Lore of Heavens on foot. Interesting choice there. And then a trebuchet in the back. Cavalry-wise, we have Knights of the Realm out on the flank, and then we also have a Pegasus Knight out on the far right side. And yeah, Grail Guardians as well. These guys just kind of hiding out in the woods, going to be providing a pretty beefy punch with some magic damage as well as some heavy physical resist or a little anti-infantry kick. So let's get started. Alright, so right off the bat over on the left flank for myself here, we're going to be pulling our skirmish cav out. The Pegasus Knights come down and try to get a good charge in, but end up failing. They're going to be pulling back out so they don't get overextended, and we're going to drop some arrows into their flanks. Bring all our cav in on the side to try and get some skirmishing harassment done on those guys, as there is no life caster. So any damage done to them is good damage over the long run. Otherwise, we're going to be dropping some of our gaze spells, the Vindictive Glares. Start chipping away at King Louen's health. He's got tons of physical resist, and he also has regeneration. So anything we can put on him right off the bat is going to really help us out in the long run so that his regen cap gets hit faster before he starts putting any real damage into us. Night Gobbo's up here soaking up a little bit of skirmish fire. No harm, no foul. Barely take any HP damage. And yeah, we pull the cav back, try and bait out a little bit of those arrows. But yeah, spells continuing to go off with Madcap. And yeah, he's taking a pretty solid chunk of damage so far. Going in on the ground to try and get after Grimgor here as the front line moves into engage. But Grimgor is no pushover, and he has the support of some Savage Orc Biggins who are going to have all that physical resist and anti-large, and Louen is getting pretty mulched here. Grimgor's taking a little bit of a pounding, but Louen is definitely in a fight that he does not want to be in. We're going to be popping Wah in just a second across the line now that we are engaged, and here it goes. So Pegasus Knights in the back trying to come into support, and a little bit of spell casting going on from the damsel. But over here we did manage to wrap the damsel up in a unit of Savage Orc Biggins, and she's getting absolutely destroyed while Wah is going. So over here Pegasus Knights trying to come down on the Night Gobbo Shaman, but Grimgor and the boys are absolutely beating down King Louen, and we're going to chase him out of here. Meanwhile, the frontline engagement going pretty handily in our favor. The Savage Orcs are just a little bit too much for the infantry to handle, and we were able to beat out the Foot Squires because of Wah. And we're also going to be running right into this Pegasus Knight that got trapped here on both sides by Savage Orcs. So they are having an absolutely horrible time here as they try to gank our Night Gobbo Shaman. And he's just sitting right in the middle of things, screaming his happy head off, punching some Pegasus Knights, and they are getting absolutely beat on. So those guys are going to be routing out of battle. Over in the back line, we kind of throw our rider archers in to some halberds, which is not great, but we do end up distracting the field trebuchet, doing a little bit of damage, and those guys are going to rout out, and they get a little bit more artillery shots in. So now our Savage Orcs free to push into the Peasant Bowmen over here on the flank. Knights of the Realm engaged in combat with some Savage Orc Biggins. Really need to pull these guys out and start going for some cycle charges because we don't have charge defense. But as we continue to wrap up the frontline engagement, we're just swarming across into the back lines now. nasty skulkers and orc biggins chasing down all the routed infantry that's trying to rally, and a bunch of orc biggins and savage orcs running into the men-at-arms with polearms. These guys not really going to be able to do too much. A lot of their armor piercing is going to be wasted on savage orcs, who have pretty high physical resist and are going to do lots of damage in this engagement. And archers running around out there starting to provide some harassment to chase off units. And yeah, skirmish fire coming in on Louen, and he is taking tons and tons of damage. Some gazes going off here and there to continue to pressure him as he tries to harass, and army losses are going to hit as we swamp the lines. So pretty decisive battle here as we kind of just run down everything everywhere, and Bretonnia is overwhelmed by the sheer WA numbers with our infantry. So yeah, all around it worked out super well. I was curious if I could make this build work. Wanted to go with something that's a little tougher. The Lord Snipe isn't going to be quite as easy because Grimgor does have tons of armor and some decent mass. So trying to do the Louen Snipe on most Greenskin Lords is a lot easier, except for Grimgor. So we bring him, and then we bring some 2 dirt cheap Naigabo Shamans for some gazes, as well as sneaky stabbing to give that extra melee attack throughout the battle. And yeah, it worked out pretty well. Made our infantry extra deadly against like some of this cav when they got in there, because they do have all the anti-large across the line. So shutting down some of the usefulness of this cav, but also with WA popped, absolutely powerhousing through this Bretonian infantry. They stood no chance. Foot Squires doing a little bit of good damage, as well as the Battle Pilgrims. But all in all, just way too much to try and cut through. But yeah, it's about the gist of it for today. Quick battle. I hope you guys enjoyed. Throw me some tips down in the comment section. What do you guys like to use for Greenskins versus Bretonnia? Or if you're bringing Bretonnia, what don't you guys like to see? Is this a common build and I'm just kind of catching on to it? Or is there something else that I might be missing meta-wise? So yeah, have a good day, guys.